Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So, I believe I mentioned it on this channel before, but do you know which one of my favorite video game heroes of all time is? Why, it's the Super Ninja Ryu Hayabusa. The Ninja Gaiden series is one of my favorites on the NES. The games are difficult and still to this day get me throwing my controller in anger, but I love it. Ryu Hayabusa is a goddamn badass. And not only is he a badass here, he's a badass in the Dead or Alive series. And in those games they got girls with giant bouncing boobs, and I still play as Hayabusa. The 3D reboot series is also pretty damn fun. Which, by the way, as of the making of this video, the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection is coming out soon, and I'm really stoked to get it. Yeah, I'm not so excited about the first two games in the collection being the Sigma versions, but I'll still be getting it and having fun regardless. And there's one Ninja Gaiden game that doesn't really get talked about too much, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. It's a game that's on one of my favorite video game systems of all time, the Game Boy. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ninja Gaiden Shadow. So, Ninja Gaiden Shadow, or Shadow Warriors as it's known in Europe, was released in December 1991, only months after the third game on the NES, The Ancient Ship of Doom. Just glancing at the box art, it looks like this would just be a watered-down port of one of the NES games. I mean, the cover art is exactly the same as the first game, but with the word Shadow slapped on it. But the game inside is unlike those other 8-bit titles. That might be because it actually started off as a sequel to the NES game Shadow of the Ninja before it was reworked into a Ninja Gaiden game. Ninja Gaiden Shadow actually serves as a prequel to the NES trilogy. The story takes place 3 years before the first Ninja Gaiden adventure, and an evil demon incarnate, Emperor Golf, appears and causes death and destruction. A young Ryu Hayabusa plans to take out Emperor Golf, who by reading the manual we find out Golf is actually an underling to the antagonist from the first game. Can Ryu Hayabusa beat him? Of course! Now when it comes to gameplay, Ryu is still in his training years. He's armed with just a sword and a grappling hook, and he hasn't polished his skills yet, so his only special attack in this game is the fire wheel technique. And because this game is on the Game Boy, making this game a prequel with an inexperienced Ryu that can't use his special moves from the NES games because he hasn't learned them at this point, it's kinda clever, I think. I mean, if that was the intention anyway. So this game is a bit on the shorter side, but let's take a look at the levels. In stage 1, we're in the city of New York, and we're killing some jobbers, machines that shoot missiles, and robots that explode into flames after you destroy them. For the most part, Ryu feels just like he does in the NES games. Same kind of jumping and slicing, though it feels a bit slower due to the hardware. The only real change to Ryu's moveset is the grappling hook. It allows Ryu to grapple onto certain ceilings that are in reach. Pressing up and jump shoots up the grappling hook. Pressing up and attack allows you to use the fire wheel technique, assuming you've collected these little icons throughout the stages. The first stage is pretty straightforward, with a robot boss named Spider at the end. It climbs around the ceiling and will drop down towards you. Use that time to slash at it until it explodes. Sliced and diced! That was pretty awesome! That was like when Trunks killed Frieza in Dragon Ball Z! That's sick! I love it! Stage 2 has us fighting against these flying robots, jabronis with guns that can only shoot 3 bullets at a time, and an enemy that will shoot fire at you. There's also a lot of capsules here to break open. Sometimes you'll find more energy to perform the fire wheel technique, sometimes you'll find more health, and rarely you'll even find an extra life. The level designs definitely get more difficult as each level goes on, and in this stage, they'll be having you on your toes. The boss of this level is Jack and Gregory. Jack and Gregory? That can't really be their names, is it? Well, shit, it is. That's gonna be the worst name for a boss duo ever. Also, according to the game manual, these two are wrestling brothers. Gregory is the big guy, and Jack, or Quick Jack, is the little guy. If Jack gets a hold of you, he'll slow you down, allowing Gregory to start kicking your ass if you don't escape in time. Avoid the two as much as possible while focusing on doing hit and run techniques on Gregory. After so many hits, they both die. Stage 3 has us dealing with a lot of fire. There's fire wheels and even fire coming out of the walls. There's also a robot that shoots explosive canisters. The level itself has a lot of tricky platforming parts, like trying to avoid these fire things. And also there's a short section where you have to run with all your might so you don't get squished. Ah! Our boss here is Colonel Allen. So, Al's design here reminds me of the boss from Shatterhand. I'm not sure if it's coincidence or not, but Natsume developed both of these games, so there might be some kind of connection. Anyway, Alan here shoots towards your feet. Use your grappling hook to get the drop on him, and slash him enough times until he dies. Stage 4 has us in an underwater facility, I guess. There's a section with rolling blackouts, and another section where you have to race against rising liquid. The boss here is Evil Nobleman Hokusai, or however you say that. He'll float around in the air, throwing down sets of ninja stars, and will eventually drop down and throw his deadly fan. Duck, then jump to avoid his fan, while also attacking with your sword. And after enough strikes, well, he's dead too. Now we're on the final level, Stage 5. This stage is tough, as you would expect, but with everything we've already dealt with, nothing should really come as a surprise. We've got bad guys throwing bombs and other bad guys with flamethrowers we have to get through. There's also lots and lots of lasers. And then there's this part that gave me the most trouble, the slow elevator section where you have to avoid and or destroy the laser cannons along the way. Survive to the end and we get our showdown against Emperor Golf. Golf floats around the top of the screen, shooting lightning bolts down at you. The bolts can be a bit random with their strikes, so keep moving away from Golf to try to avoid them. He'll eventually float downwards, allowing us to get some strikes in. After a bunch of hits, Golf transforms into a giant samurai robot? Now this part will truly test your reflexes. Golf will jump around the screen, shooting 3 little projectiles. What you want to do is duck to dodge the first middle blast, then jump to avoid the second bottom blast while getting in as many hits as possible. Easier said than done, but after a bunch of hits, Golf is dead. Ryu does the heroic don't look back badass walk away, and the game ends. So cool. So that's Ninja Gaiden Shadow. How is it? Honestly, I think it's a fun little title. Is it as hard as the NES counterparts? Not by a long shot, but for a Game Boy game, it's worthy of its name. The word Shadow being in the title seems very appropriate, as it feels like a light version of the original NES trilogy. But that's not to say Ninja Gaiden Shadow doesn't have anything new to offer. I mean, the grappling hook is an interesting take, and it isn't there for the sake of it. It actually comes into play quite a bit. I also think the level layouts and even the enemies here help this game feel unique and different. The difficulty overall is also fair. In typical Ninja Gaiden fashion, it requires you to have some quick ninja-like reflexes to get through this game and fight bosses. Not as challenging as the NES games, but will still give you a run for your money. The visuals look about what you would expect for a Game Boy game, but the cutscenes look pretty cool. There's not many of them, but when there is, Ryu is typically in some kind of cool pose. The music here is pretty great also. There's some new beats as well as some familiar ones. In fact, if you want to check them out, the game actually has a hidden sound test mode. Wicked! The only fault I have with this game is its length. There's only 5 stages in this game, and if you're familiar with the game, you can beat it within 30 minutes. But I won't be too rough on Ninja Gaiden Shadow, as most Game Boy games were made to be on the shorter side. They were made to be played in shorter bursts. So yeah, Ninja Gaiden Shadow is pretty damn fun, and I think it's a really well done portable adaptation of the series. It adapted a whole lot better than the likes of Castlevania or Mortal Kombat. I definitely think Ninja Gaiden Shadow is worth checking out. But those are just my opinions. What do you guys think? What do you think of Ninja Gaiden Shadow? You like it? Hate it? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you haven't subscribed already, you can go ahead and do that too. And thank you guys for watching. I will see you all on the next one.